Have you ever caught your reflection in an unexpected moment and paused, startled by what you saw, not because of imperfection, but because of something indefinable, something that doesn't quite match the number of years you've been walking this earth? Or perhaps you've heard those words whispered in passing, "You look so much younger than your age," and felt a curious warmth, as if someone had glimpsed a secret you yourself barely understood. What if I told you that this phenomenon is neither accident nor vanity, but something far more profound? What if the youthful radiance others notice isn't simply the result of good genes or careful habits, but the visible manifestation of a soul that has learned to live in harmony with its deepest truths? What if, as I have come to understand through decades of exploring the human psyche, your appearance is nothing more than the outer reflection of an inner integration, a psychological wholeness that transcends the ordinary wear of time? I am Jung, and I have spent my life daring to map the hidden territories of the human psyche. Through my work, I have come to understand something that modern culture often overlooks. I have learned that the way we age, the way we carry ourselves, the way light seems to dance across our features has everything to do with the relationship we've cultivated with our unconscious mind, our shadow, and our authentic self. Today, I want to share with you the spiritual and psychological reasons why some people seem to radiate an ageless quality that no external remedy can replicate. This is not about skincare routines or anti-aging formulas. This is about the alchemy of the soul, the sacred process by which inner work transforms not just the spirit, but the very vessel that houses it. I believe that individuation, the journey towards psychological wholeness, is the most important task of human life. And perhaps, just perhaps, those who embark on this journey with sincerity and courage discover that wholeness has a way of preserving what matters most. As I once wrote, your vision becomes clear when you look into your heart. Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakens. Today, we're going inside. I want to explore with you the hidden psychology behind timeless beauty, the spiritual architecture of those who seem to age with grace, and the profound truth that when you heal your soul, your body remembers how to glow. So take a breath, settle into this moment, and prepare to discover why the comments about your youthful appearance aren't just flattery. They're recognition of something sacred, something earned through the courageous work of becoming who you truly are. In the depths of every human psyche lies what I call the shadow, that repository of all the parts of ourselves we've learned to reject, deny, or hide. For most people, the shadow remains unconscious, a dark force that operates from the hidden corners of the mind, creating internal conflict, self-sabotage, and the kind of tension that eventually writes itself across the face in lines of worry, bitterness, and repressed emotion. But you have done something extraordinary. You've turned toward what others turn away from. You've acknowledged the parts of yourself that society told you to suppress, the anger, the sadness, the jealousy, the fear. Instead of banishing these aspects to the unconscious where they could poison you from within, you've brought them into the light of awareness. You've looked at them with compassion rather than judgment, and in doing so, you've reclaimed the energy that was trapped in their suppression. I have come to understand that what we resist persists, not just in our behavior, but in our very being. The man who denies his capacity for anger often lives with chronic tension in his jaw. The woman who refuses to acknowledge her sadness may find that her eyes lose their sparkle, dimmed by tears that were never allowed to fall. But when you integrate your shadow, when you acknowledge all aspects of your humanity with loving acceptance, something remarkable happens. The internal war ends. The energy that was once consumed by inner conflict is freed to flow toward healing, creativity, and vitality. This is why people who have done deep psychological work often possess an almost magnetic presence. They're not performing perfection, they're embodying wholeness. Their faces aren't masks hiding turmoil beneath. They're authentic expressions of souls at peace with their own complexity. There's a relaxation in their features, a softness around their eyes, a genuine quality to their smiles that speaks of someone who has nothing left to hide, even from themselves. You see, when you stop fighting yourself, your body stops holding the tension of that battle. When you accept your darkness as well as your light, you stop fragmenting your energy. And that unified energy, that integrated wholeness, radiates outward in ways that transcend ordinary beauty. It's the glow of authenticity, the magnetism of self-acceptance, the timeless quality of a soul that has made peace with its own depths Life, I have observed, moves in cycles, in seasons, in patterns that mirror the deeper rhythms of the unconscious mind. Most people spend their energy fighting these natural flows, trying to force spring to last forever or demanding that winter skip its turn. But you've discovered something profound. You've learned to read the signs, to sense when it's time to plant and when it's time to harvest, when it's time to expand and when it's time to retreat. This attunement to life's natural rhythms isn't just philosophical wisdom, it's practical magic. When you align yourself with the ebb and flow of existence, when you honor the seasons of your own soul, you stop exhausting yourself through resistance. You stop aging yourself through the futile attempt to control what was never meant to be controlled. Instead, you learn to surf the waves of change, to find stability not in static circumstances, but in your ability to adapt, to flow, to transform. People who age gracefully have mastered this art of conscious surrender. They don't cling to past versions of themselves or future fantasies. They inhabit the present moment with full presence, allowing each phase of life to teach them what it came to teach. When grief arrives, they grieve. When joy appears, they celebrate. When confusion clouds their path, they sit with the uncertainty rather than forcing false clarity. This responsiveness to life's natural rhythms shows in their being. There's a fluidity to their movements, a grace in their gestures that speaks of someone who has learned to work with life rather than against it. Their faces don't carry the hard lines of constant resistance. Their bodies don't hold the rigidity of those who try to freeze time. Instead, they move through the world with an almost dance-like quality, responsive and alive, always in conversation with the moment at hand. I believe that the goal of human development isn't to achieve some static state of perfection, but to become increasingly conscious, flexible, and whole. Those who embody this understanding seem to remain forever young because they're forever growing, forever learning, forever allowing life to sculpt them into more authentic versions of themselves. In a culture that promotes the avoidance of pain at all costs, you've made a radical discovery. You've learned that there's a profound difference between unconscious suffering, which diminishes and ages us, and conscious suffering, which transforms and illuminates us. I have spoken often of this distinction, understanding that while we cannot escape the difficulties of human existence, we can choose how we meet them. Unconscious suffering is the kind that leaves us bitter, hardened, and prematurely aged. It's the pain we resist, deny, or numb, allowing it to ferment within us until it becomes poison. But conscious suffering is different. It's the pain we meet with awareness, courage, and openness. It's the grief we allow to move through us, the disappointment we face with curiosity, the loss we transform into wisdom. You've learned to suffer consciously, and that learning has kept your soul supple, compassionate, and alive. Instead of hardening against life's inevitable difficulties, you've allowed them to break you open in sacred ways. You've discovered that every wound, when met with consciousness, becomes a doorway to deeper understanding. Every loss, when grieved completely, creates space for new life to emerge. This willingness to feel deeply, to let life touch you even when it hurts, has preserved something essential within you, while others protect themselves through emotional armor that eventually calcifies into bitterness. You've remained vulnerable, open, courageously soft, and that softness, that continued willingness to be touched by life, shows in your face, in your presence, in the way light seems to find you even in difficult moments. I have come to understand that individuation, the journey toward wholeness, necessarily involves encountering our wounds, our traumas, our deepest fears. But I have also learned that when we meet these challenges with consciousness rather than resistance, they become the very forces that sculpt us into who we're meant to be. You bear the marks not of someone who has avoided suffering, but of someone who has transformed it into wisdom, compassion, and an almost luminous understanding of what it means to be human. In my psychology, the persona is the mask we wear to navigate social expectations, the carefully constructed identity that helps us fit in, succeed, and gain approval from others. While the persona serves important functions, problems arise when we become so identified with this mask that we lose touch with our authentic self, the deeper core of who we truly are. beneath all the roles and expectations. You've done something remarkable. You've learned to distinguish between your persona and your authentic self, and you've chosen to live primarily from the latter. This doesn't mean you've abandoned social grace or professional competence. It means you've refused to sacrifice your soul for the sake of appearances. You've maintained connection to your true desires, your genuine feelings, your real values, even when they don't align with what others expect or demand. This commitment to authenticity has profound effects on how you age. When you're constantly performing a version of yourself that doesn't match your inner reality, your body holds the tension of that discrepancy. Your face bears the strain of maintaining masks that don't fit. Your energy becomes depleted by the constant effort of being someone you're not. But when you live from your authentic self, when your outer expression aligns with your inner truth, that tension dissolves. There's a relaxation that comes with authenticity, an ease that shows in every gesture. Your smile becomes genuine because it arises from real joy rather than social obligation. Your voice carries warmth because it's expressing genuine thoughts and feelings. Your presence becomes magnetic because people sense they're encountering something real, something alive, something that hasn't been dulled by the constant performance of an artificial identity. I believe that the ultimate goal of psychological development is to become who you truly are, rather than who you think you should be. This process of individuation, of differentiating from collective expectations to discover your unique path, requires tremendous courage. But those who undertake this journey discover that authenticity isn't just psychologically freeing, it's physically rejuvenating. When you stop exhausting yourself by being someone else, your natural vitality returns. Your body remembers how to glow from within. While most people live entirely in their conscious minds, cut off from the deeper wisdom of their unconscious, you've developed something extraordinary. You've learned to listen to the subtle voices that arise from the depths of your psyche. You pay attention to your dreams, honor your intuitions, and allow yourself to be guided by the symbols and synchronicities that I understand as messages from the unconscious mind. This ongoing dialogue with your unconscious has profound effects on your vitality. When you're aligned with the deeper currents of your psyche, when you're living in harmony with forces that operate beyond your conscious control, you tap into a source of energy that goes far beyond ordinary willpower. You're no longer swimming against the current of your own nature. You're allowing yourself to be carried by the deeper tide of who you truly are. People who maintain this living relationship with their unconscious often possess an almost otherworldly quality. There's a depth to their presence, a richness to their being that speaks of someone who has access to more than surface-level existence. They seem to move through life with a certain knowing, a confidence that doesn't come from ego, but from alignment with something larger than themselves. This connection to the unconscious also provides a constant source of renewal. While others age through the accumulation of fixed ideas, rigid patterns, and crystallized beliefs, you remain open to the ever-flowing stream of insight, creativity, and transformation that emerges from the depths of the psyche. You're not just getting older, you're getting deeper, wiser, more in touch with the timeless aspects of human existence. I have spent my life exploring the healing potential that emerges when conscious and unconscious minds learn to work together in harmony. Those who achieve this integration often discover that they've tapped into something that transcends ordinary time, a source of vitality that keeps them forever young, not because they've avoided aging, but because they've learned to age consciously, in partnership with the deepest wisdom of their own being. Individuation, my term for the lifelong process of psychological development and self-realization, is perhaps the most sacred journey a human being can undertake. It's the courageous movement toward becoming who you truly are, differentiated from both the collective expectations of society and the unconscious patterns inherited from your past. You've embarked on this journey, and it shows in every aspect of your being. The process of individuation requires tremendous honesty, courage, and persistence. It means facing the parts of yourself you'd rather ignore, questioning the beliefs you've always taken for granted, and gradually separating your true identity from the roles ideals and expectations that others have projected onto you. It's the work of a lifetime, and those who commit to it with sincerity discover that it transforms not just their consciousness, but their entire presence in the world. People who are actively engaged in individuation carry themselves differently. There's a groundedness to their being, a sense of inner authority that doesn't need external validation. They speak with the quiet confidence of those who have learned to trust their own inner compass. Their decisions arise from authentic choice rather than unconscious compulsion or social pressure. And this inner alignment, this growing coherence between who they are and how they live, creates a kind of radiance that transcends ordinary beauty. You see, when you're living your own life rather than the life others expect you to live, when you're expressing your unique gifts rather than conforming to generic templates, your life force flows freely. Your energy isn't dissipated through internal conflict or the exhausting effort of maintaining false personas. Instead, it's channeled toward the creative expression of your authentic self, and that focused life force has a way of keeping you vital, alive, and luminous. I believe that individuation is not a selfish pursuit, but a sacred responsibility. By becoming fully yourself, you contribute something unique and irreplaceable to the world. And perhaps this is part of what people sense when they comment on your youthful appearance. They're not just seeing someone who looks young, they're witnessing someone who is fully alive, fully themselves, fully engaged in the sacred work of becoming human. In a world obsessed with external fixes and surface-level solutions, you've discovered something revolutionary. You've learned that true beauty, the kind that transcends fashion and defies time, emerges not from what you put on your face, but from the work you do on your soul. You understand that psychological wholeness, the integration of all aspects of your being into a harmonious whole, is the most powerful beauty treatment ever discovered. I have taught that neurosis, the splitting of the psyche into conflicting parts, creates not just emotional suffering, but physical tension, illness, and premature aging. When different aspects of your personality are at war with each other, when your conscious desires conflict with your unconscious needs, when your authentic self is constantly battling your learned patterns, your body bears the burden of that internal conflict. But you've chosen a different path. You've committed to the patient work of integration, gradually bringing the scattered pieces of yourself into harmony. You've learned to honor both your light and your shadow, to embrace both your strength and your vulnerability, to accept both your successes and your failures as equally valuable parts of your human experience. This inner reconciliation has profound effects on your outer appearance. When you're not fighting yourself, your face relaxes into its natural beauty. When you're not hiding parts of yourself, your presence becomes magnetically authentic. When you're not exhausting your energy through internal conflict, your vitality shines through your skin, your posture, your very being. You've discovered that wholeness is not just psychologically healing, it's cosmetically transformative. People are drawn to this integrated presence because it's so rare in a world of fragmented beings. You embody what I call the transcendent function, the mysterious process by which opposing forces within the psyche are reconciled into something greater than the sum of their parts. And that wholeness, that integration, that psychological beauty is what people really notice when they comment on how young you look. They're seeing the external reflection of internal harmony. Life has taught you one of its most profound lessons, that pain is not the enemy of beauty, but its most skillful teacher. While others allow their wounds to fester into resentment, their losses to calcify into bitterness, their disappointments to harden into cynicism, you've discovered the alchemical art of transformation. You've learned to take the raw material of suffering and refine it into wisdom, compassion, and an almost luminous understanding of what it means to be human. I have come to understand that suffering, when met with consciousness and courage, becomes the very force that propels psychological growth. The person who has never faced difficulty may remain beautiful in a surface way, but they lack the depth, the character, the soul-forged radiance of someone who has been tested by life and emerged not broken but transformed. You bear the marks not of someone who has avoided pain, but of someone who has learned to alchemize it into gold. This process of conscious transformation shows in your presence. There's a depth to your eyes that speaks of someone who has seen both darkness and light and chosen to serve the light. There's a compassion in your voice that can only come from having walked through your own valleys of despair. There's a strength in your bearing that's been forged in the fires of real challenge and proven through real recovery. People sense this depth, this earned wisdom, this transformed pain, and they're drawn to it like moths to flame. You You radiate not the shallow brightness of someone who has never been tested, but the deep glow of someone who has been refined by experience. Your beauty has substance, character, story. It's the beauty of a soul that has learned to find meaning in suffering, to discover growth in challenge, to transform every wound into a source of wisdom. I believe that the second half of life is meant to be a time of meaning making, of taking the raw experiences of youth and refining them into wisdom. You've mastered this art, and it shows not just in what you know, but in how you glow. Your pain has become your teacher, your struggles have become your strength, and your wounds have become the very source of your luminous beauty. Perhaps most profoundly, you've discovered something that eludes most people: how to live in sacred relationship with time itself. While others fight the passage of years, mourning each birthday as a loss, fearing each change as decline, you've learned to dance with time as if it were a beloved partner. You understand that aging is not simply deterioration, but transformation, not just ending, but becoming. I have taught that psychological time is different from chronological time. A person can be young in years, but old in spirit, rigid and closed to growth. Conversely, someone can be advanced in years, but young in essence, still growing, still learning, still open to the mysteries of existence. You've chosen to remain young in the ways that matter most, curious rather than closed, flexible rather than rigid, wonder-filled rather than world-weary. This relationship with time shows in how you carry yourself through the world. You don't move with the desperate urgency of someone trying to outrun the years, or the resigned heaviness of someone who has surrendered to decline. Instead, you move with the graceful rhythm of someone who has learned to find meaning in each season of life, beauty in each phase of growth, wisdom in each stage of the journey. You've discovered what I know to be true, that individuation is a lifelong process, that the person you're becoming is always more interesting than the person you've been, that consciousness can continue to expand and deepen regardless of chronological age. This commitment to ongoing growth, to perpetual becoming, keeps your spirit vital and your presence magnetic. When people comment on how young you look, they're not just seeing the absence of age, they're witnessing the presence of aliveness, the glow of someone who has learned to partner with time rather than fight it, to embrace change rather than resist it, to find in each passing year not loss but opportunity for deeper becoming. As we reach the end of this exploration, take a moment to breathe deeply and feel into the truth of what we've discovered together. If you've recognized yourself in these patterns, if you've felt the resonance of these insights in your own experience, then you now understand something profound about the comments you receive, the vitality you carry, and the glow that others notice but may not be able to explain. I have spent my life mapping the hidden territories of the human psyche, and what I have discovered is revolutionary: that our outer reality, including how we age and how we appear to others, is intimately connected to our inner work, our psychological development, and our commitment to becoming who we truly are. Your youthful appearance is not an accident or a genetic gift. It's the visible sign of a soul that has chosen growth over stagnation, authenticity over performance, consciousness over unconsciousness. You are living proof that true beauty comes from within, that real vitality emerges from psychological wholeness, and that the most powerful anti-aging treatment ever discovered is the courageous work of individuation. In a world that seeks quick fixes and external solutions, you've discovered the timeless truth: when you heal your soul, your body remembers how to glow. So the next time someone comments on how young you look, receive it not as flattery but as recognition. They're seeing the outer reflection of your inner work, the visible manifestation of your psychological journey, the physical evidence of a life lived with consciousness, courage, and authentic commitment to growth. What resonated most deeply with you from this exploration? Which of these insights helped you understand your own journey toward wholeness? Share your reflections, because your story, your growth, your commitment to conscious living may be exactly what someone else needs to hear to begin their own journey toward authentic beauty, timeless vitality, and the sacred art of aging consciously.